Welcome to UpYourStack podcast. I'm Noah Berk, host of the show. I'm also the co-founder of OBO, an elite HubSpot partner. Every week, we feature some of our favorite HubSpot app developers who either have built their applications on HubSpot or have pre-built HubSpot integrations to help you get the most out of your HubSpot tech stack. So there's definitely something for everyone here. Thanks for listening today. And I'm pleased to present Josh from SalesReach.io, who has a really cool application to help sales reps personalize their communication with their clients so they can help sell more. So Josh, welcome. I'm excited to have you on the show today.
This is where the fanfare is supposed to come in, right? Come on, we should have audience.
You have fanfare.
I can do the confetti if I want to. If I want to bring in the rock and roll show, we can do this too. Come on, welcome to the show.
Wow.
I know people listening are like, what am I missing? They're going to have to tune into the rebroadcast on YouTube or wherever this ends up, right? But yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, thanks for agreeing to come on today. Yeah. And Josh, what I'd like to start off with first is you have a great application, but why or what inspired you to start SalesReach?
Yeah, it's a long story, and I'll make it as short as I possibly can for everybody because nobody wants to listen to 20 minutes of that. But here's the story. I owned my own marketing agency years ago. And I had been in sales my entire career up to that point. I've been in sales ever since that point as well. But I was super frustrated with my sales process. I just hated it. Specifically, what I hated about it was I felt like nobody ever knew where anything that I sent them was, ever. Every meeting I ever had.
It's a common problem.
Yeah. Every meeting I ever had ended with, hey, can you send me some information? Hey, can you send me some information? Now, sometimes people say that because they don't know what else to say to just get off a call with you. So that's fair. Let's say that. But many times, if you actually do want to get to a point where somebody can actually move forward and sign on a dotted line, they are going to need to receive information from you. And they're going to need to share that information internally. And so at the time, I was just really frustrated that everybody was constantly asking me to resend things. And so what I started doing was standing up web pages for every prospect and customer that I worked with. And that is where I would load everything that they needed from me. And that way, they didn't have to ask where it was. I would just make a page and say, here's your custom link. Go here to get everything. I'm going to update this whenever you need it from me. That was the beginning of it. But that was about 15, 16 years ago when I started doing that. I knew I had built a solution where I had to do it for myself, right? And then when that agency shut down and I started working for other people, I would tell them about what I had built, and the marketing team would immediately say, no way in hell. You're not using that when you're selling our stuff because it's not on brand and blah, blah, blah. Marketing was the roadblock on it. So sure. I gave up. I'm like, that's fine, whatever. I'll go back to the antiquated way of doing things. I'll send PDFs. And then I started working for a HubSpot agency. And when I was working for the agency, I went through Dan Tyer's sales boot camp. So anyone that's listening to this that's been lucky enough to go through Dan Tyer's Sales Lion boot camp, you know exactly how fun that was for you. That man is just pure energy. You can't bottle him up at all. You can't hold him down. He is just insane. I love that man. In the HubSpot ecosystem, when I started diving into it, I learned that marketers have a ton of really cool functionality in HubSpot, just tons. And as a salesperson, I kept looking at it going, man, this just isn't fair. Like, look at all the stuff marketing gets to do. I don't get to do any of that.
Dynamic landing pages, personalization for clients.
Everything.
The whole works.
Everything. And I really, truly felt at the time, and I'm over-exaggerating. This is not a fair statement, but I felt like at the time, as a salesperson, all I was tasked with was entering my notes in a CRM. And I just felt like there's got to be more. And that was when I had the light bulb moment for myself where I went, you know what? I'm learning about all this stuff that marketers can do. I'm learning about all these things I wish I could do in sales in HubSpot. And I actually have a product that could piggyback off of what marketing's doing and allow sales professionals to be more deliberate in the way that they put materials in front of people. So that was when I really quickly just started reaching out to any person that I knew that could potentially invest in this thing and help me get it off the ground, raise some money, brought in a team, and the team was people that I had worked with in my previous life at product development shops. Okay. So I knew the team, I knew what they were capable of, and we were off to the races, man. We had an MVP and
so this idea had been percolating for years underneath the surface. And I think what's really cool about your story, and you hear this from a lot of different entrepreneurs, sometimes entrepreneurs will say, hey, I have an idea, let me go run with it. Or, hey, I really like to start a company, let me go build it. But no, you had thought of a solution, built it for yourself and said, I'm going to bring this to market. Plus, you had the background of working in the product space. So you felt a certain degree of comfort as if this wasn't entirely new, uncharted territory for you.
And I think the important thing just for your audience is that we didn't build this specifically for HubSpot. I built this so that anyone could use it as a standalone product and they could use it with whatever CRM they're using. However, from day one, the plan was the integration with HubSpot has to be the most incredible integration that we build. We identified this gap in the market with them. We know that the community is going to need this platform. We didn't know HubSpot's plans to really start diving into RevOps. We didn't know how much that would actually benefit our business when they did that, right? But it was great when they did, right? And
now, was it strategic in the sense, Josh, that you're like, hey, if I have the app, if I have this product in the HubSpot ecosystem, I'm gonna get my customers via through HubSpot? Or was it more of a method like if I do outbound business and business development, I'm just gonna target companies who have HubSpot? Was it both, like in the sense of like how you were trying to target your customers and get them to come to you? Is the benefit of being a HubSpot on the app marketplace?
It's a good question. We started under the philosophy that all of the partner agencies, all the HubSpot partner agencies, we thought, well, they'd probably love to be SalesReach partner agencies as well. So let's outreach to them. Let's get in front of the agencies. Let's get the agencies using our platform. And then when the agencies find value in our platform, then they can start bringing it to their customers as well. In our mind, that made the most sense to start from that side, where the agencies could really get proficient and then they could train their customers in on how to use it. And then the agencies could make additional revenue by providing the services that are kind of required by using a tool like ours, right?
So, Josh, I feel like we've been building up this this product that you've built, but normally I'd get to it a little bit later, like what did you actually build? But I feel like at this point, I'd love for you to share what it is that you built that we've been working on towards 15 years. Can you describe it to me a little bit here? And then we can get back to how you're marketing it.
I can describe it. Also, though, anyone listening, watching the video can cheat. They can go ahead in their journey and they can scan this QR code on the screen right now. This QR code will actually take you to a page that I built on my platform. And there's a whole bunch of information on there specific to HubSpot users so that you can learn how it integrates with HubSpot as well. So just scan that and you'll get there. Essentially, here's what it is. There's a lot of people that have a lot of challenges finding the materials that they need to share with people. So at our core, we are an asset management system. Marketing can curate a list of anything that anyone in a customer-facing role might need to share into our asset management system. Everything's versioned, so you can make sure everything's up to date. The uniqueness of our platform, though, is how you share those information, okay, with people. Instead of sending an email with a bunch of attachments, you're literally creating a web page with our platform, personal to the person or the organization and the team that you're working with. You curate everything that they need from you. You organize it in whatever way you need to. Video is built into our platform, so you can record videos and guide them through their journey. You can update any portion of the page or the video at any point in their journey. We have two-way communication as well. We have the ability to share proposals and agreements, and a lot of our customers just use HubSpot quotes right off the page for signature. It's all right there. So literally what you're doing is you are creating the one destination that the people that you're talking to always go back to whenever they need anything from you. You use it in business development, literally all the way through in the agency world. You can use this for project management. You can use this for onboarding training. You can use this for implementation. You can use this all the way through to renewals.
And Josh, not to cut you off here, I'm going to keep it really simple for salespeople. It's personalized experience.
That's it.
For your customer. And I know this firsthand how difficult this is because we were trying to use Google Sites before we came across you guys. And setting up those Google Sites takes several hours. It took us like one of our developers weeks to just kind of figure out what we want to make it more simple. And to be honest, it's too time consuming to be able to do this. And one of the things I really love about your products is how simple it is to get set up and how simple it is to deploy this. So every customer can have a unique customer experience with all that collateral that you built out, your presentations, your scoping docs, your videos, your call, all the information about your organization in one place. That is awesome. I mean, that is truly, I think, fantastic. And And one of the things I think you mentioned earlier is these digital sales rooms. As a sales organization selling HubSpot services, we're constantly going through and saying, how do we give a better experience, not just obviously once they become a customer, but before they become a customer? Because normally it's not just the person you're talking to, maybe the champion, but there may be economic buyers that you've yet to have a conversation with that you're going to need to be able to share this. And you don't want to play the game of telephone and say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Customer, here's the information we have. You go ahead and share this. Instead, as you mentioned earlier, you can put a video up there to be able to speak to the entire company.
The page that I had that QR code leading to, and I'll give you the link to the page. You can put it in the show notes for people as well if they just want to click to it. But there's some articles in there from Gartner. And I think that no matter what your interest level is in a digital sales room or a sales page or a customer portal or whatever it is, those articles that I put on there are still a must read as far as I'm concerned. And a lot of what's written in them is going to be very familiar to people in the HubSpot world, because HubSpot has always led the charge on, who the modern buyer is and, what they're doing on the web and how we engage with them. HubSpot really defined that category. Gartner really jumped on the back end of what they had already started and started analyzing it in a slightly different way. But the article, the one thing that really popped, the one thing that really stood out to me was they said that the number one challenge in B2B sales right now is buyer confusion. And they went into what they mean by buyer confusion. And here's the thing. Some of this confusion is being caused by sales professionals. Some of this confusion is being caused by marketing teams with messaging that's falling flat or isn't, it's a little too buzzwordy and it doesn't really get to the point. But where the confusion is truly coming from is the fact that buyers keep thinking they can do all of this without talking to sales. They don't want to talk to sales. We have just become this dirty entity that they just, for whatever reason, they think, if I get on the phone with sales, they're going to push me into spending $10,000 more than I wanted to, or $50,000 more than I wanted to. Those dirty salespeople are going to screw this whole thing up. I'm going to do it on my own. But here's the problem. With all the information available to buyers in the B2B space, because marketing teams are creating all kinds of stuff, because people like you have a podcast that they can listen to and learn things, right? They feel that they can just gather up all their own stuff, and then they're doing the same thing for other vendors. And then they're trying to organize all of those thoughts and bring it to their team. And guess what? It's not organized. It doesn't make sense. They still need someone to guide them through their process properly.
And I'm sure a lot of the listeners are experiencing this themselves. So in your experience, companies who adopt a platform such as yours, a tool such as yours, what do they see as the uplift? Like, have you seen or have you been able to measure the increase in close rates, both pre and post? And maybe you can share some examples.
Yeah. So our customers use our platform in a lot of different customer-facing efforts. So some use it almost exclusively for cold outreach. Some use it never for cold outreach, only in first meeting and after follow-ups. Some of our customers only use it in onboarding and training. They don't even use it in sales. So it's really, really crazy how it's just a very simple web page builder. It's a way to organize information people need, and people need information before and after a sales process. But here's what I will say. Some of my favorite use cases with our platform have been the results companies get that do a lot of RFPs in their business development.
Okay.
Everybody hates RFPs across the board. I don't know how many you do a month, Noah, but I've tried to get away from them.
They're time consuming and they feel impersonal.
They're horrible.
And it's hard to really convey the value via simply typing out, some words. Every other company is going to type out something similar.
And I think the big problem is when you're responding to an RFP, everybody's forced to respond in the same way for the most part, right? Because there's a portal that you go to upload your responses and your documents, and the receiving party is going to go into that portal and extract everything from all the vendors. And guess what? You all look the same. Nobody stands out in that game. And so what my customers do is they create what a lot of my customers call a finalist presentation, right? But they'll make a page with everything that they put into the RFP program. Okay. It's all on my page though. And then on top of it, they're able to put anything else they want, right? So, hey, I followed the rules. I uploaded everything the way you wanted it to, but also on top of that, here's the cherry on top. Here's a link to a page where everything's organized for you, so you don't have to download it and reorganize. And we recorded some videos from the team members that you'd be working with. Those live on the page. We recorded a presentation for you to watch. That lives on the page. And it's a game changer. One of the biggest successes that I had with that, I have a customer that is in the office furniture sales space. Office furniture. RFPs all day long. Lucky if he had a 10% win rate on these RFPs. It's a competitive space. He started using my platform exclusively for RFP responses, and he called me one day and he said, I didn't even know about this. He called me one day and he goes, dude, has anybody ever told you how good this thing works in RFPs? And I said, nope, tell me more. As a founder in a tech space, my favorite thing to say is tell me more, right? Everybody always has a great idea for something with my product. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Tell me more. He said, man, I'm not kidding. I've been doing this for 6 months now. Every RFP I respond to, I create a SalesReach page as a follow-up. I have won 100% of the RFPs that I've gone after.
Wow.
Insane.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So let me take a step back. I think it's obvious what your application can do, what the tool can do.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to help salespeople sell more. And honestly, the only sales team that isn't going to use this is, for lack of a better word, probably they don't necessarily have a leadership saying, hey, this makes a lot of sense to be able to use this tool. So coming back, we were talking earlier about HubSpot and that you said, hey, listen, I want to integrate with HubSpot. Again, why did you pick HubSpot? There's a lot of other CRMs that you could have spent time integrating with. And I know you have other integrations.
Yeah.
But why HubSpot?
You know what? Honestly, it came down to just a fundamental, it felt right. They felt like the kind of company that I wanted to be closely associated and aligned with. It felt like they had very similar philosophies on how people should be treated, customers should be treated, on how their customers should be treated, but also in how they were educating people to treat their customers. There was just a lot of alignment. I sat back and I went, okay, there's going to be two that I'm going to integrate with out of the gate, Salesforce and HubSpot. You have to go with Salesforce. You have to. Why? Because at the time that I launched this, the rhetoric that HubSpot wasn't for enterprise was still very loud. That was the rhetoric when I first launched this.
And just for the audience purposes, how long ago did you launch this
8 years.
product?
So eight years ago, people were still saying, oh no, if you're enterprise, you're Salesforce. Only mid-sized businesses use HubSpot. That has changed.
You are right at the time. That is 100% change at this point.
Big time.
There's probably a minimum dollar amount that makes sense for someone to invest the time to build out one of these pages. You're not going to do it for a $15 a month subscription customer. It has to be worth a lot more. One, you have to have a salesperson involved.
Yeah.
But kind of tell me more about who is that ideal customer who will get the most out of this product? Like who's coming to you, Josh?
So here's the thing. The reality of this platform is that it is so simple that as long as you have a salesperson, you should be using it for every conversation that you have with everybody. This is going to take you 2 minutes to build a page on average. That's what it takes me.
That's awesome.
2 minutes to build a page.
And to give everyone a comparison, if you want to see how much more simple it is to build this page, just go check out a Google site. Try having your team build out a Google site. When my team first experienced this, they were blown away by how easy it is to use this tool. So kudos to you and what you built.
The time savings is super important, but the most important thing, there's a couple of things I want to point out, and I'm not directly answering your question that you asked because there's a couple important things that I need to point out here. Number one, I do not call this a sales enablement tool. I call it a buyer enablement tool. My focus is not how easy this is for salespeople to build. Though it is easy, that is not what I care most about. What I care most about is that you're able to create something that makes your buyer's life easy. So though the sales enablement category is huge, and I get it, it's semantics, right? But the buyer enablement segment is very, very, very small. There are very few tools in the market that actually first think about the receiving party, your customer's experience, in more that just focus on, oh, okay, salespeople want to go fast. Why do you think AI is going crazy right now? It's because everybody wants an easy button in life on everything, right? And I'll tell you one thing. Sales doesn't have an easy button. There's no easy button to sales.
No.
Sales is a relationship game. It is a commitment of time. It is being authentic. It is having empathy. It is allowing people to go through their journey in their own timeline and not focusing only on your own timeline and motivations, right? So there's no easy button in sales. And the more people try to take the easy button in sales, the less they're succeeding. And so Our tool is all about, listen, be more intentional, be more human. Yeah, take a little bit more time than putting together an automated message for 5,000 people that you hit send on and hope that you get a 3% response rate. That's great. But what I'd rather do is just be very, very deliberate with a smaller amount of people and have more success with that smaller amount of people because of those efforts. So it's a buyer enablement tool.
I think you gave so many good sound bites here for any sales leader to think through. First of all, buyer enablement, I love it. And part of the reason why is, I think of sales enablement tools, but to your point, it's about buyer enablement, helping them buy from you. And I agree, that's a much better way to describe what you do versus sales enablement. Yes, the sales team is using it, it's enabling them to sell more, but it really is enabling the buyer to buy from you and be able to remember what it is that you're even talking about in the first place. So in terms of like the ecosystem itself, like are you competing against these deal rooms? If so, how do you compete against these deal rooms?
Yeah, I'm competing against them now because now there's more that exist. When I first launched this, they didn't. And marketing teams were legit telling me I was crazy. So I would meet with...
Was it because you were trying to sell to the marketing team, or do you generally sell to like a VP of sales or VP of revenue? Who's the one who initiates the conversation?
When I started this, I was courting sales leaders first. And then I would encourage them to bring marketing into the conversation very quickly after. That's what I would do, okay? Now I do get courted by more marketing teams, but when I do, I am very deliberate in telling them, I need you to bring your sales leadership to this meeting. And then I need you to bring actual sales people to this meeting as well, because I don't want you just buying something that marketing decides sales needs to use, and then sales is going to fight it all day. There's a lot of challenges with a tool like this. Number one of the big learnings for me is that never assume that people are going to see, just because I can put a visual of something in front of people, right? Like I linked to an entire web page that I built on my platform for your audience. I can't tell you how many people I put a page just like that in front of, and they would respond and go, oh, so you're a video platform. And I go, what? And they'd say, well, we saw the video in the email. So you're a video platform, right? You put a video on that page, so you're a video platform, right? And I'm like, I need you to expand your mind a little bit here. Get out of your own way. Do you not understand what is in front of you here? Explaining this was job number one, because it was so early in the market at that time that people were just like, oh, okay, so it's a video on a web page. I get it. And it's like, no, there's a lot more here. Now that digital sales rooms have become more of a thing, now it's just the difference between them. There's not a billion of them. There's like tens of them right now, and they all do it in a vastly different way. We're all very different products. Some of the products favor analytics over everything. And the problem with favoring analytics is that it pulls away from the buyer's experience, because you have to put up gates for them to get through and loopholes for them, loops to jump through, so that you can capture more and more information from them when they're doing things. I'm not a fan of that. I'm a fan of just making things available. Of course, we have analytics, but I want people to have a better experience going through it, right? So selling against them is really just selling on what kind of experience do you ultimately want your buyer to have? What kind of information do you need to have? And what is your current sales process? Like, where are the challenges? Because some of these platforms are built really well for short sales cycles. Some are built better for long sales cycles. Some are built better for enterprise and will not work for midsize. Some are built for midsize and will not work for smaller or enterprise companies. A lot of differences. The funny thing about it, though, is how few of them actually have video built in natively, which blows my mind, because video is the most powerful.
You're an expert at video, too.
I love using it, man.
And I remember the first time you sent one of these pages to us and the video in there, and I was just blown away. I'm like, this is fantastic. He's explaining everything right on the video. And then I was able to scroll through the rest of the page.
Yeah.
So what's the future product roadmap? Like, what's this product going to look like over the next year, 2 years? Like, what's happening?
I mean, we have some new things coming out in just the next couple months that are going to completely revolutionize the way the product works. Some of the things are going to make everything we do, I have two requirements. It has to make the platform simpler, and it has to make the platform faster. Those are my only requirements when we're rolling things out, okay? And so, because everybody always wants it to be faster, I don't want it to be faster at the cost of the buyer's experience, and I don't want it to be faster and turn into this just automated spammy thing. Like I do have some rules along those lines, but we are rolling out a new feature very soon here where people will now be able to make one-to-many pages. So in the past, you've had to make kind of one-to-one pages, right? Now you're going to be able to stand up pages, tokenized, even the video is going to be tokenized, and you're going to be able to send out pages to bulk communications. I'm hoping people don't use this for bad. I'm hoping that people use this for active customer communications. I'm hoping they use it for newsletters. I'm hoping that if they use it for their cold outreach, that they do it in a very intentional way, smaller lists, more targeted, more intentional with the messaging, right? But I'm excited about that one. The other piece that I'm insanely excited about that we're about a week away from rolling out in the platform for some beta testers is the big difference between SalesReach and every other digital sales room on the market has always been that we favor a visual first experience. The whole idea behind this was when you sell a home, you hire somebody to stage your home. Why? Because people like beautiful things. And I always joke, that's why I always put myself in the video, because people like beautiful things when they come to the page, right? But the reality is there's certain materials that are evergreen that every person on a sales organization or customer success team or revenue team is going to be sharing with a bulk of their customers. Those should be curated by marketing. Those should be housed in a place where only marketing updates them. However, in a sales process, we have a ton of conversations where we need to develop things that aren't evergreen, that aren't going to be used by other customers, that don't need to be seen by other customers. They're tailor one-off. We shouldn't be expecting salespeople to try to play designer and make those things beautiful on the page. So we're going to roll out more of a document feature where sales reps can quickly itemize and organize materials that they need to share, links to videos they've recorded with the customer on presentations, additional documentations around agreements, proposals, red lines, whatever it might be. Make it really fast to do that. Still stays in the same vein though. Everything they need in one place, whatever that is that they need.
So Josh, I got to ask, where is AI going to play in this? Because of course, everyone asks this question about every software product out there.
I know it's going to play a part in it. I'm honest. If I'm being honest, I'm kind of fighting it myself because the impersonal nature of it just really fundamentally irks me. I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a fan. I'm going to say it out loud. I'm not a fan of these AI videos that I'm seeing people using in their sales process. It honestly angers me when I see it. It angers me. How lazy are you? You can't make a quick, actual personalized video for somebody that you want to give you a bunch of money. You're going to make it look like you said their name, and then you're going to make them watch a pre-recorded fake screen of your website showing up. Are you kidding me? That stuff angers me. And that stuff is going to actually destroy video in sales for people.
So what I'm hearing and what you're sharing with the audience is please do not use those tools. I have to admit, we do not use those tools.
Yeah.
Having a personalized video to communicate the value of what you're doing. If you're going to do it, just do it. If you're not going to do it, I'm just a regular video of you talking about your company at that point. At least it's you, not someone else who's doing it.
Here's what I'd say. There's better ways to do a one-to-many without duping people. When you dupe people, ultimately, they're going to figure out you duped them at a certain point, and then they're going to feel stupid because you duped them, right? I'm seeing these AI avatar videos people are making right now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, it gets really close. Like Reid Hoffman did one where he interviewed himself recently, and I was like, wow, it looks like him, and it kind of sounds like him. He was doing more of the mannerisms of Bill Gates, which was kind of weird, but like, yeah, it worked. It was.
We don't know if I'm real right now, Josh. I mean, for all we know, you're just talking to an avatar.
You better be. But that's the thing is like, they're never, at a certain point, it'll be close enough where, I don't know. But listen, I feel like if I'm going to take money from somebody and promise them a bunch of things, I want them to get things from me. I think that there's more respectful ways to do a one-to-many. But what I would say is that there are ways to use AI for good. There will be AI built into our platform, but it will not be in a way that it replaces the necessity for me to be a human in the sales process. I refuse to do that.
So Josh, obviously being in the HubSpot ecosystem, I have to ask, what are other apps that you either use or you're like, this is just really cool?
Yeah, so the thing is, I used to use a lot more of the apps than I do now because now my product actually has like so many different things into one place that I don't need much more on top of it. I just don't. But what I will say is that like I've always been a big fan of a handful of the video platforms that exist in HubSpot, right? I think, HubSpot built their own video platform, and then I think that was kind of tough for those video platforms. At the same time, I was a big fan of some of the proposal softwares that were out there. Like I was a Proposify user at one point in my life. I was very happy with them. I think they do a very good job. And then HubSpot went and made quotes, right? And so it's, that's kind of challenging. And for me as a builder, I'm always like looking around the corner, like, okay, when are they gonna knock me off, right? When does my product become just a thing that exists in there?
So how do you stay ahead of that? Because I mean, it does happen. HubSpot will look at the marketplace and say, hey, clients are asking for this. Although they're also heavily endorsing the app ecosystem. In fact, I was just listening to Yamini earlier today, talking about how it's one of their core tenets to promote and expand the app ecosystem, because truthfully, HubSpot can't do it all. There are tremendous gaps in the ecosystem that apps filled. So how are you staying one step ahead of this?
I think that you have to innovate at a speed that they can't innovate at, which is hard because HubSpot has some really great software engineers. But the only reason they can't innovate at the speed that I can is because I am only focused on one singular thing. They have a whole bunch of stuff. They've got all kinds of tools. So they just can't. And so, when I've had other companies, Seismic was one, right? Seismic was a sales enablement software that, the founder was following me on LinkedIn. We were connected and I just kept thinking, well, maybe he'll reach out to me someday and ask about acquiring my business and he can just have it, right? Or maybe HubSpot will reach out to me and ask about acquiring my business and they can just have it. That'd be great. But then I'll never forget the day that Ed announced that Seismic is rolling out digital sales rooms. And I was heartbroken. I was like, really, man, that stinks. But I guess that's the way life goes. You're going to roll out your own version of it and it is what it is. But the fun thing about it to watch, and I'm not saying this to be rude, because again, Seismic is an incredible product as well. And they've got a lot of different sales enablement tools built into it, but they have so many that there's no way that one is going to be their core focus, right? And the innovation of it has been very, very slow, right?
Well, there's a lot to be said when you're focused in a particular niche or application. I mean, you're living, eating, and breathing this each and every day versus HubSpot's not living, eating, breathing. Maybe there's a person or two who's thinking about this, but I'm pretty sure Yamini is not thinking about digital sales rooms on a regular basis as you are 24/7, which in my belief gives a lot of these apps an advantage over HubSpot. But that's why I feel it's a very close relationship between what HubSpot does and what you do. And that's why it's still so important to be able to build that. So taking a step back here, thank you for sharing all the information about your product and what you're doing and how you're helping. I think there's been so many great nuggets of information that people are going to be able to take away and say, wow, I didn't even realize how important this is. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of VPs of sales and CROs out there be like, what do you mean there's something called digital sales rooms? What do you mean I can have more personalized touches with our clients and where I can just have everything centralized? So that's better than email. Josh, this has been absolutely fantastic. And I appreciate the opportunity to learn more about how you got started and more about some of your journey. Obviously, we could talk for hours upon hours and hours on this stuff, but I'm sure the audience only has limited time to be able to listen to what we're talking about today. So I do want to wrap this up, Josh. Any last words for our audience before we kind of wrap this up?
The last word I would say is I 100% agree with you. Don't ever be afraid to reach out to somebody. Don't ever be afraid to ask for help. If you're a founder and you're trying to build a business and you don't know where to go, don't ever be afraid to ask somebody for help. But here's what I would say. If you do reach out to people, it's like you said, use my product if you have access to it. That's a great idea. Put a video in there, but don't just reach out to someone and ask them for time. You got to give them the reason why you should be having that conversation. Give them a little bit of background on it. Most people are willing to help. It's just most people are very busy. And if you reach out and say, hey, Josh, I need 15 minutes of your time, my response is probably going to be, you know what? So does everybody else. But if you reach out to me and say, Josh, specifically, this is my challenge, and I think that you're perfectly suited to help me through this, would you be willing to give me 15 minutes of your time to work through this? Absolutely. That sounds like a really great thing to talk about, right? Everybody wins in that scenario.
Josh, by all means, thank you for being my first guest on the show. It was awesome. And then thank you for the audience listening today. You know, that really wraps it up. Again, UpYourStack is a weekly podcast featuring HubSpot app partners and developers. And again, sponsored by the OBO Group as an elite HubSpot solution partner. So we want to be able to bring new ideas to the table and help you all grow. So again, thank you for joining us. Josh, thank you.
Have a good one, Noah.
Take care.